The FAA is investigating a failure of air traffic control radios at Denver International Airport earlier this week. Just the latest incidents of failures in the outdated system. Joining us now to weigh in on this and talk about it, maybe even explain it, is former United Airlines chairman and CEO Oscar Munoz. He is also a CNBC contributor. So glad you could join us this morning, Oscar. So what do you think is going on out there?
Oh, good morning. It's early out here on the West Coast. So, a host of several issues. I think probably the first thing I would tell to the listening audience is that safety is of the utmost concern for everyone involved in this process. We have backup systems to backup systems. We slow things down in order to make sure that the public, the flying public, is safe. Now, having said all that, this nation deserves better, right? We shouldn't have to rely on those things. This is an issue that has been decades in the making, both the shortage of the shortage of air traffic controllers, as well as the need to modernize the air traffic control system for this country. And so the decades-long debate has been difficult. It's complex. It's going to take time, talent, and budget. I think, the secretary has stepped up and has spoken out about a need to make that investment. I think, everybody's waffling sort of on what the number might be. It is a large number, and the time involved is going to be difficult. So we're not out of the woods yet, but it's important that we are at least beginning to take the step. But more importantly, for all of the flying public, it is indeed, it's still safe to fly. As an example, there was another issue that happened in Denver a couple of days ago. Just to put it in perspective, while as the media will pick it up as yet another one of these issues and will sort of make a nice big headline out of it, it really was a blip in the overall system. In checking with my United folks in Denver, the large commercial airlines didn't really fly it because the backup system to the backup system did indeed work. And things went on smoothly. So again, for the flying public, rest assured that all the right steps are being taken. But again, progress is being made, hopefully, with a bigger program to actually fix this once and for all. Sorry. Is
this a systems problem, or is it a personnel problem, or a combination of both? According to the president, he says it was the Biden administration's fault, Transportation Secretary Buttigieg, for something about trying to take partially a new system and integrate it with partially an older one, and there was some sort of problem in doing so. And he says now they're going to put it out for bid and get some new modernized system. So first of all, is that correct, that sort of sequence of events? Second of all, will a new system solve these problems? And third of all, how much of this is personnel? Because as we understand it, at the Philly Air Traffic Control Tower, a lot of this is just literally a shortage of people.
So it's a complex issue, as I said. So it's a combination of all of those. With regards to how this initiative, this is, as I said earlier, a decades-long issue. In fact, President Trump, in his first thing, I spent a lot of time with him, in front of him, explaining the issue as it sits and what needed to be done. We actually discussed the possibility of taking it as a private enterprise and doing it as a private initiative because, again, you need time, probably more than one administration. You need a heck of a lot of budget committed for a long period of time. Federal appropriations don't really work that way. And then, of course, you need talent to develop and bring the system. Your question, is a new system going to fix it? Yes, of course. Any new system will relieve the pressure to have so much manpower and experience involved in every one of these transactions. Air traffic controllers it's a really difficult job to begin with. It takes a long time to train, and then you can't really let them loose on the system without oversight of experienced people to ensure that they understand all the nuances of this sort of an antiquated system. So it's a whole different issue. So we need more air traffic controllers. We've needed that for a long period of time, and a new system is crucially needed. It's going to take longer.
Hey, Oscar, who's going to ultimately bear the responsibility? If the FAA basically says, look, at Newark, you got to scale back the number of flights, and they basically start canceling even more flights than they have. First of all those families and other individuals who are supposed to be on those flights need to be rebooked on other flights, if they can be. Who pays for that? In some cases, those flights cost a lot more now because there's a lot less space on any of these flights. So what happens?
Well, as far as that specific angle, rebooking of flights, the impact on the flying public. That's a direct impact and hit from the brand, and to a degree a revenue aspect on the airlines that are affected for sure. With regards to the paying for all the different flights, that all falls back on the consumer. Of course, as you book a flight, I think airlines will try to rebook you and not have you charged. But again, in the overall scheme of things, this is an impact to the public, the flying paying public to some degree, which is why, again, for instance, EWR, Newark today, yesterday, despite the weather, was flying fairly smoothly. But the media speculation around it has been so great that people are going to avoid it.
Well, that's the other question. You have folks trying to cancel flights. Someone was saying the other day, should United and other airlines that are flying out of Newark offer the option to freely cancel your flight out of Newark and try to rebook elsewhere? I don't know if you think that's a good idea or not.
Well, again, Newark in particular, with the reduced flights that at least United announced, the United operations yesterday, despite operations, were operating fairly well. So the reduction of flights certainly helped. Now, how they handle those people that have been canceled and moved, I know a particular instance of a couple folks that I know that have called me who just had to come in a day early to leave on their international flight. So the airlines and everyone are trying to accommodate it as best as possible, but it's a heck of an inconvenience, and we need this new system. So I'm glad to hear that there's action. I fear that it's going to take longer. Getting to the budget, it's just going to take a really long time, and there's got to be hopefully a more significant way of moving this quicker. Because, again, you might remember, we have a broader infrastructure problem in this country. That is, as soon as we get this bill out there ready to go, all of those issues are going to come back and everybody's going to pile in on this bill. So we are a long way from home here. And so I urge all of us to sort of report on the facts and try to push this forward as best possible.